hope that we'll be heard. And if it's not on a city level, maybe on a state level, maybe on national level, because in my opinion, we had an emergency in the city. We had a criminal and humanitarian emergency in the city.
A brawl on the Link light rail platform turned into a terrifying scene of violence surrounded by dozens of witnesses. New surveillance video shows an argument between two men led to a confrontation involving 3 people before fists fly.
The downtown Third Avenue in Seattle has historically been a difficult environment. There was a lot of drug activity, criminal activity.
At one point, one man reaches into his pocket, and we've frozen the clip before he's seen making multiple stabbing motions.
A mass stabbing attack with 5 victims. We have video just in from a DOT camera that shows the moment one of them was attacked and then falls to the ground. Today's violence comes after 5 other stabbings in the same area in a 24-hour time span.
But as COVID came in and downtown emptied out, I feel like the criminal activity has really taken over the street.
911 calls confirm a woman reported being followed by a man she knew and who was armed. She ran into a grocery store to get help. The independent task force team says after officers met with the victim, they found the suspect walking on the sidewalk and then approached him.
And as we tried to reopen in Seattle, we ended up dealing with people selling drugs, buying drugs, smoking fentanyl, and in a broad daylight, because there was a lot of criminal activity. We started having gun violence.
Mayor-elect Katie Wilson has criticized sweeps and says it doesn't provide lasting solutions for neighbors or people living on the streets.
In the last month or so, we had 3 shootings there. And one of them was in the middle of broad daylight on Sunday afternoon. And at that point, I decided that my employee safety are on the line and my customer safety is on the line. So I had no choice to shut down the doors to kind of keep everyone safe.
Removing homeless camps like this one behind me, it's seen as one way to convince people to accept shelter and services. But sometimes what is being offered is not always what people need or want. And instead, sometimes they just pack up their tents and move a block or 2 down the road.
So with everything Seattle's got going on, with all the stories I read, the field work I do, going out to Dr. Jose Rizal Park and interviewing whacked out homeless drug addicts, it's baffling to me when city leadership should be focusing on those issues because they're so glaring, they're so obvious, and they're so just in your face to the residents of Seattle. And instead, Mayor Katie Wilson proposes a $410 million Seattle Public Library levy to the city council. Libraries. Talking about libraries today. Let's get into it. Here we go. Now, I'm not saying libraries are a bad thing, but, my son Kieran last night, he brought this up to me. He goes, did you see what Mayor Wilson did? She's proposing a levy for more libraries. I'm like, do we even need libraries anymore? I mean, it's a question that I worked out in my head. Yeah, we do. But do we need to be expounding upon them exponentially like this levy does? We've already got a levy in place. You've already got libraries in place. They're a place that the homeless dudes go to jerk off. You're always watching a story of some guy in a library doing something he shouldn't be because it's nice and warm. And he's like, hey, this is a good time for what. It's just, it's the priorities in Seattle are just, they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. And not in a good way. Seattle voters could decide next year whether to dramatically expand dedicated funding for the Seattle Public Library under a proposed $410 million library levy that Mayor Katie Wilson transmitted to the Seattle City Council on Tuesday. So instead of just vigorously working on homelessness, supporting small businesses that are being absolutely decimated, actually doing something about the criminal element on Highway 99. You got girls walking around in less than lingerie, let's say that, showing off their wares because they're being trafficked from California. You got drug dealers just open air on 3rd and Pike and Pine. in downtown Seattle, to the point where I get yelled at because I'm filming a public street scene of just decrepit drug use, addiction, and homelessness. And then we do these sweeps, and instead of focusing on those issues that really matter, because you're not going to bring any new businesses in, your vacancy factor isn't going to go well, your tax revenue is going to continue to decline, and it ain't going to be helped when you ask your constituents, hey, you want to spend more money on libraries? That's kind of my point. Not that libraries are bad, but I can't even remember the last time I had a library card. And I do a lot of reading. A lot of it's online. I don't go into a library. My choice, right? My choice. But I see libraries as a place where the homeless go to get out of the weather and just basically take advantage. And then news stories come up and I'm like, good Lord, don't go to the library. Note to self. Proposed 2026 replacement levy would fund the library system for 7 years from 2027 through 2033, replacing the expiring $219 million library system. This is what the mayor says. This is where the priorities are. Seattle is a city of readers, from toddlers discovering their first stories to seniors finding connection and lifelong learning. Our libraries belong to everyone. Okay. All right. But there are higher priorities than libraries. There really are. If libraries ceased to exist today, Seattle would still function. Seattle would still function. Instead, Katie Wilson is out protesting against Starbucks. How's that working? Well, we just had 5 Starbucks shut down. 5 Starbucks in Seattle shut down. In Seattle, land of Starbucks. Howard Schultz, founder of Starbucks. Yep, I'm going to Florida. Gives the big finger to Washington State, millionaire tax, because he sees what's coming. Everybody sees what's coming. Gotta go to Florida. Starbucks corporate, moving to Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out where the focus should be. The focus should be on, hey, let's get some more cops in here. Let's actually arrest some people. Let's incarcerate them. But we're not doing that because we're run by a bunch of lefties that prioritize, housing first. Just get them a house and they'll be fine. No, you got a bunch of drug addicts running around on the streets and you got a bunch of drug dealers feeding them drugs. And everybody's like, yeah, but we should go read a book. Let's go read a book. Let's go get some books instead. Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, the priorities are just, and how about the other story I just did yesterday where they're going to put up signs in Seattle. They're going to spend $45,000 on building these signs that basically say, oh, ICE can't set up for any of their ICE activities in Seattle's parks, streets. Just absolute nonsense. And that's not for cost to install them. This is a city that doesn't follow any signs about anything ever, anywhere. We don't care about signs. We graffiti signs. We just graffiti signs left and right because we're Seattle, we're Freeattle, and that's what we do. So we're a city of readers. Okay. All right. If voters approve the 2026 library levy, it would invest in accessing, programming. Yep. Okay. Library stuff. We thank Mayor Wilson for putting forward a levy proposal that reflects community needs and interests. No, that doesn't. That reflects a very, 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 very small percentage of the community that isn't being impacted or probably is being impacted by homelessness, by drugs, by rampant prostitution, by just homelessness, folks just pitching tents wherever. It's all good. It's all right. It's okay. Businesses shutting down. You don't have the police system to come when somebody's business is broken into. We've literally got business folks sleeping in their businesses, cafe in Ballard, because the nut job drug addicts have been stripping out the copper wiring from their condensers. That is an ongoing story. You've got business people sleeping in their businesses because the whacked out drug addicts are coming by in the middle of the night and tearing whatever they can out that's copper because they'll get a few bucks, and that's enough for the next fentanyl fix. And what's the city doing? Focusing on libraries. Libraries. Huh. This proposal reaffirms Seattle's reputation as a world-class library system. Okay. All right. I don't know. We'll give you the world-class library system, but how about we work on homelessness? How about we work on incarcerating some of the drug dealers? How about we work on, getting the whacked out mental nut jobs on the street, running around chasing each other with swords? How about we get them some, I don't know, mental institution help? You know what I mean? Just on down the line. City's commitment to preserving library open hours, providing books in the format the readers want, delivering programming for tots all the way up to seniors. Okay. Continued open hours across Seattle's 27 neighborhood libraries. Early literacy, social service referrals, security personnel. Security, 11 million. That kind of tells you, a bunch of whacked out people. Every time I'm in front of a library, I see a library in Seattle, you're aware that there are tents populating. Because that's an open public space, right? We got restrooms, warm in there, doesn't rain, tents don't leak inside. Just, you've got all these policies that have allowed all these people to kind of live their best lives out on the streets. And it's because the focus isn't where it needs to be and nothing really happens. Now, what about other cities? What are they doing? Are they investing in their libraries? Yes, but they have their own homelessness squared away or in control, or they don't defund the police, right? Seattle's shy, 600 cops? Something like that. If you're a business owner and you report a break-in, you may or may not get a call back. You may not get somebody showing up that day. You don't know. Seattle police is doing the best they can. I honestly believe that. But you've got leadership that just basically doesn't allow them to do their job. And so they just kind of, go through the motions of, when you've got a stabbing or a rape or something of major concern, a shooting, they show up en masse because they have to. But for everything else, it's kind of like, well, we're going to let the citizens fend for themselves. Businesses closing down left and right. Amazon moving people by the thousands from Seattle to Bellevue. Bellevue doesn't have homelessness everywhere. Bellevue's got decent libraries. It can be done. It can be done. It's just leadership needs to pull its head out, and I don't think that's going to happen, especially with a socialist in charge who's focusing on libraries when there's certainly bigger fish to fry. But you know what? We'll throw this out there and we'll just see what happens. I'm not going to read all the rest of the stuff. You got public and staff computers, strengthening IT systems, upgrading IT infrastructure, bunch of yada, yada, yada. I want to thank Mayor Wilson's office for their collaboration on this levy renewal. So it's a levy that's coming up. It's going to be expanded greatly, $410 million. I bet the police department could use a couple $100 million, couldn't they? Just keep the library going the way it is. Hey, you got books? Yep. All right. Let's keep that going. Well, just, and focus on the other things that are required to make Seattle a better city. But you know what? We're not going to do that because you've got just a whole bunch of misguided politicians making decisions in not only Seattle, but King County and Washington State. It is wild. It is wild how quickly Washington State is going the wrong direction. It is like, boom. Hey, let's tax the rich. Let's tax millionaires. Let's tax everybody. Let's throw out $12 billion in new taxes, whatever it was. Let's have some of the highest gas tax in the country. Let's have some of the highest gas prices in the country. Let's have some of the highest everything that you don't want to be high in the country. And we'll just get some more books, get some more IT for the books. To me, it is misguided and misplaced priorities. That's what it is. It's just you're putting money into stuff that you're like, you do need that to an extent, but Is that your highest priority? No. There's so many other things that should be just head on. But we're not going to take those issues head on. We're just not. We're not going to put a dent in the homeless industrial complex. We're not going to hire a whole bunch of cops because nobody really wants to be a cop in Seattle anyway. Then I don't think Seattle constituents really care all that much. They're like, yeah, another break-in. Yeah, I got assaulted. It's bad, but, it's bad. It should be better. I don't know why people do that. We should do something about this. Meanwhile, let's spend a couple $100 million more on libraries. Wild stuff. But on the bright side, I've got podcasts for days, weeks, months, years. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for joining. Bye for now.